about social media, since that's what I do a lot of for our organization. So we're going to talk about telling your SWACUHO story, ways to effectively use social media. I am still Jen, she, her pronouns, and I'm one of our communications committee co-chairs. And I still work at Texas A&M University. So a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about today, creating engaging media content to share via our SWACUHO social media platforms, empowering your committee members to engage in SWACUHO's media outlets, and then upholding some timelines for leadership blogs and newsletter submissions. So I wanted to give an overview of what the SWACUHO Communications Committee is responsible for, because I think sometimes we get a little confused on if Jen should be doing that or if you as the committee chair or your committee should be doing that. And so here's a general overview of what we are doing. So we have our social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We do have a LinkedIn group. So if you're not a part of that, that is one of our team initiatives for this year, is to really kind of engage more on the LinkedIn group. So please join that. And then Flickr, which is our photo sharing website. We have the blog, which Ricky talked about earlier today. We are bringing back the newsletter, which I'm going to go into more detail in a little bit. And then, of course, photos at conferences that we are attending, any activities that you invite us to. So if you're doing virtual events, we'll screenshot those for you, headshots, etc. Throughout events. So telling your story. So one of the things that I think is important as you are kind of going through and designing your social media or whatever it may be is thinking through the who, what, when, where, and why. And so the first thing is the who, right? Who am I talking to, and whatever post it is that you're designing, right? And a lot of that is, I always start with the who, because that's going to tailor your language, right? So if you are working with mid-level professionals, you might use a different vernacular than if you're working with SHOs or entry levels, right? And so always knowing who your audience is first, I think, is important. And then your what. So what are you trying to communicate out? And so sometimes it's easier to start by writing this out, like on a piece of paper, in a Word doc, whatever it is, and not just trying to design that right away. And so you can have it written out, all of the things that you're trying to communicate out, before you start the actual design process. When are you needing to have this information shared out by? So are there deadlines you're trying to communicate out? Is this a recruitment process or timeline? And so that one helps us on the back end, so you can provide us that information to share out, or it also helps keep yourself accountable to the timelines of creating the information. The where, so where are you sharing this out, right? So I talked about all of the avenues that we oversee. Ricky talked about the website and being able to share stuff on the website as well, and the Google groups, right? So there's a couple of different avenues that we could be sharing the information. I will tell you, one social media post can hit all of those avenues at the same time. That's one. So like if you create one post for Instagram, that same document can be added to the website. It can also be linked into your Google Groups post. And so you don't have to recreate that same image like 5 different times. We can use that one image for all of those groups, right? So that's just something to think about. I don't want it to overwhelm you thinking, oh, I have to create an image for Facebook. I have to create an image for Instagram. I have to create an image for the website. Like, it can just be one image for all of those platforms. And then the why. And honestly, this is probably the most important, is why should they care, right? And that goes back to the who that you were talking about at the very beginning, is why, what is it that you're communicating and why should they care about it? And understanding that is probably one of the most important things, because if you can't articulate why they should care about whatever it is you're creating, then whoever is looking at your post is never going to care about it, right? And so understanding the why and starting with that as you're planning out your information, it's the whole motivation factor, right? There's a whole book on starting with why. If you've never read that book, highly recommend it. And so having that why factor in there is super important. So creating your social media post, I've tried to break this down into 6 easy steps. But planning your message. So again, what are you trying to communicate? The verbiage that you're using, trying to make it clear and concise, right? So this is as you're creating that actual design. So you went through that first stage of planning it all out, right? That we just talked about. So what words are you using to make it clear, concise? I would tell you, as you're actually designing the post, less is more, right? Think about screen readers. So if you are creating an image, you need to think about like the screen readers that people may be using. Your images should be communicating your message without words, right? Sometimes I think we will pick images because they're like, oh, this is really cool looking thing, but then it doesn't necessarily communicate our the same message that we're trying to like use with our words. You can use the Flickr photos. That's why they're there, right? So we have taken all these conference photos, and you're like, I don't know what I want to like use for a photo. That's a great time to go back and just pull a conference photo, right? We have lots of session photos, we have group photos, whatever you want to use from Flickr, like they're there to use. And then as you're actually designing things, please make sure it's readable. So this first QR code there is specifically looking at like color contrasting. So please make sure you're trying to use colors that contrast as much as possible, because we will get feedback from people and like, I can't read this, right? So for instance, like this little thing here showing up, Jen probably didn't do the best job picking the colors that contrast the most. But like black on white contrasts really well. But that's not the only colors that contrast. As you're physically designing things, you should really be trying to combine everything together, right? So your words, your images, this is kind of the part where everything is coming together, and make it fun, right? That's our ultimate goal, right? If it's not fun, somebody's not going to want to look at it. It should be attention grabbing. And the compliance piece goes back into that QR code there. If it's not, your color codes are not color codes, if your stuff isn't contrasting, I'm not going to send it back and be like, hey, this isn't contrasting enough, redo it. It's just a recommendation, right? And I think that goes back into that inclusion piece, right? And the more accessible we make our media, I think the more welcome people will feel in our spaces. Post text. So this is like when you're scrolling through Instagram, that text that shows up underneath our photos. Try and limit that to 250 characters. The reason I say that is we still do use Twitter. Shout out Don Yackley for being one of our few and followers on Twitter. Sarah too. Sarah follows us religiously, and Ricky. But Twitter only allows us to use 250 characters, not words. And so that's like each letter is a character. And so try and keep it concise, right? But your post text should all match what you're trying to communicate in your like media design. So it could literally say the exact same thing that your image does, right? And again, that goes back into like the screen reader piece of, it should have the same dates, times, locations, all of that information. So if somebody is using a screen reader, they're getting that same information. And then there's another QR code there for you if you want to look at some of the ADA compliance stuff when it comes to online media. I think it's always just a good reference point to have as you're going through some of that marketing stuff. And then share it with us once you've created it. You can submit it through the Google form, which is also on the website, or you can email it to us as well. I know some people think it's just easier to send it over, or the documents are too big to upload to the Google form, which is totally okay. So you can always email that over to us as well. So some possible social media posts. This is where that collaboration piece comes in. We were just talking about with Maggie. So if you have upcoming events, we would love to share those out with the region. If you have a member who's doing really great work and you want to highlight them, let us know. We can post that out as well. Awareness months. So DSJ does a really good job of getting us this information to share out. If there's other awareness months, so I don't know if like any of our corporate partners have like their big celebration months where they turn like 100 years old one month and we want to celebrate them for that, we can do that. If there's something that your committee has accomplished, so like us changing the name from E&D to corporate partners, we can announce that on social media. Tips and tricks. So I know like we've been doing a lot of the gathering of information for like professional development or SHO tips and tricks or mid-level tips and tricks. And ideally that information would be coming from those committees. And so I think really trying to work with your members or like those listservs to get that information from those people. Fun facts. If you just think of something one day and you're like, this could be really fun to share out with the region on social media, send it over. We'll share it. If you have deadlines, so awards and recognition committee, send us those deadlines. We'll get them out. Thank yous. So if you know somebody does something really great for your committee and you want to highlight them on social media, we can do that as well. Recognition, we used to do, I think it was monthly recognition with like the spotlights. I would love to see that come back. And we can share that out. University highlights. So if your university is doing something really cool, we can share that out as well. Like we can share whatever you feel like you want to share out, we will share it. We just need to know about it. So here's some examples of things that have come to us over the past year. So we have some involvement things, we have events, we have thank yous, we have awareness months, we have upcoming events, things that we're having at conferences, all types of things. If you're like, I can't create any of this, this is way too like fancy. All of this, I believe, was done in Canva with templates. So something to think about is reaching out to Canva. Sure, Maggie, we can talk about that. Any questions about social media before I move into the blog? Okay, if you think of anything, you can drop it in the chat. So blog, I defined it as some greatness here. So fun fact, everyone's going to have to write a blog post this year. Sorry, take it up with the exec board. I'm just the messenger here. So B stands for belief in yourself. You have something great to share, okay? So as you're like, I don't know what to write about, there's something within you that you have to share. So believe in yourself. L, looks. So make sure your content as you're writing it is well thought out, you proofread it, and it's concise. Yes, it is a blog, but I will tell you, most people don't want to sit and read a 3,000 plus word essay. They want something short, sweet, and to the point. So Drew is starting off our exec board assignments, and he sent his first one over, and it was the perfect amount. It's like a page and a half, and that is a really great length, right? It's not too long, not too short. I would say a page of like word text is like a solid amount. You can include pictures if you want, depending on what you're writing on. You don't have to, but I think that helps kind of spruce it up, make it fun. But the more fun and interactive, but the quickness of the blog is important, right? If we make them too long, people aren't going to want to read them. They should be ongoing, right? There should be some type of like call to action for the reader, right? This is a professional development opportunity for them. And so we just say, hey, read this one blog post, but the blog post doesn't say, this is what you should be doing next. It kind of is a moot point at that part, right? And then G, greatness, inspire it. I know sometimes people are like, well, I don't know how to inspire greatness. I think that goes back into the belief in yourself, right? I have some ideas for posts coming up. And I think when you're writing about something that you're passionate about, you automatically will start to inspire the greatness because you're having that passion, right? So with that, some ideas. You don't have to write about anything that you do on a day-to-day basis. And I want to reiterate that because I think up until this point, that has been maybe a misconception, is like, oh, I have to write something, like if I'm a hall director, I have to write about being a hall director. And that is not the case, okay? So write about something you're passionate about. Just write. Okay, so you can write about working with student populations, training development, wellness. If you were a crafter, you can write about crafting, sustainability, doing less with more, facilities management, crisis management, working through concerning behaviors, supervision, current events, current university happenings. So if something really cool is happening at your university and you want to share that out, do that. If you have a hidden talent you want to share with us, share it. That's cool. One of my RAs is a yo-yoer, and it's actually really cool, and he uses it to community build. And I think that's a really cool thing that maybe I'll make him write a blog about, right? Bullet journaling and planning, what you learned on your last vacation and why it's important to take vacations, right? Mindfulness. I think this was just something like, I was like, okay, what can we blog about? This list could go on forever, right? And so I think as you're thinking about, okay, what can I write about? Don't like get in your own head about it. Just what are you passionate about? Think about, what am I passionate about, and write a blog about it. Okay. So with that, we have a schedule for you all. We're asking everybody to write 2 blog posts. You will notice that the communications committee is not on there. And the reason that is we have to upload them on the back end. And so we felt like it was a little more work. And so I want to be fully transparent in there. So when you're looking for my name or Ansley's name, you're not like, why aren't they on here? It's because there's a lot more work that goes into the back end of getting them uploaded and all of that. So if you're on a month and you're like, that is really not going to work for me, please let me know. I try to be like aware of things that happen in the region. If I knew like you're a hall director and it was opening season, I try to be aware. But if you're like, that's really not going to work for me, let me know and I can work with you all to get that changed. But this is the schedule currently. I will have a link to the spreadsheet where all of this is as well here in the next slide. The SWACUHO newsletter, that's back. And you're like, what? So the purpose of this new newsletter is going to be facts. And so what I mean by that is we want to be communicating out through a newsletter-ish type of thing, anything, important dates, things that people who are not on social media need to know. So upcoming events, deadlines, the snippets of the social media that we want to make sure our members know about, right? And so a lot of this will be us pulling information that you already are sending us to highlight on social media. But these are going to be quarterly and they'll be very, very short. So in the past, if you remember that newsletter, we'd be asking like the president to write a whole letter to the region, things like that. That will not be happening in this because that's what the blog is for. This will purely be like announcements of annual conferences this day, registration now open, here's the link. It'll be short, sweet, to the point, but it was brought up multiple times at annual conference this year that some people aren't on media or social media, and they needed this connection. And so we wanted to provide this for them. So here's that QR code I was talking about. There's also our TechZag link, which is a shortened link thing, to the timeline with those due dates. I haven't filled them in yet because I'm waiting on our committee to finalize that time frame. But that also has the link to the blog information as well. And then I know Delton was talking a little bit about this earlier today, but specifically looking at it from a social media aspect. I think empowering your committee members to get involved with their social media, there's a relationship building aspect, right? So it's more than just getting to know them as like completing this task from social media, right? Get to know them, what they're interested in. And if you're like, oh, that could be a really cool blog post, let them know that, right? Or, oh, you're passionate about this. Would you mind doing that task, right? So that relationship building piece is really important. If they're interested in something, capitalize on it. I think it's a given most of the time. And let them take on projects outside of their typical roles, I think is also really important. So, if you're they're typically working on the same task within your committee, and they express interest in wanting to be a liaison with our committee, let them come meet with us. We meet bi-weekly, and so if they can only attend once a month, that's okay. We're not going to make them attend every week if they're only going to be a liaison. We're all about making connections. So it's not just about networking. Teach them how they can connect it to their resume. Give them clear deadlines on their task, recognize their work, and then give them the ownership they need. Here's ways you can connect with me. There's my cell phone number. I will help you with whatever you need. I know Katie Pelton has already told me that I'm designing all of their stuff for conference next year, which is fine. So if you need design help, that's fine. You can text me. You can also reach out to us at our Gmail account. We do check that regularly. All of our links are also on the website. And then please make sure you follow us. I'm not going to ask for questions because Drew just texted me and told me I was going over time. So drop them in the chat and I will reach out to you individually.
Great job, Jen. Thank you very much. I appreciate this. I am not a social media person, so I appreciate hearing about all this. And I will definitely be tapping into your expertise. Before we jump into colleague collaboration, I do want to give our host committee the opportunity to provide any announcements that they have. Katie, Maggie.
Yeah, so Host 2024 had our first kickoff meeting this morning. For those of you who are on the socials, we did, and thank you, Jen, we did have a post go up just to kind of give you a preview of like the lobby hangout space. Like the hotel is so beautiful, and I'm a horrible video, image, graphic person, but I don't know that the video does the hotel justice, but hopefully just to give people a taste. So we are looking at just meeting with select committees to start. So E&D, we have asked if you guys could meet with us next month to try to get folks squared away. We'll be reaching out to, so E&D and programming are at the top of our list because of the nature of the work they do. And then we're going to be reaching out to other committees for ideas, just like Maggie said, that collaboration piece. We're just really looking forward to planning and fellowshipping. We think, like Maggie said, because of the hotel space, and then also some scheduling options, we might be able to provide some really great opportunities and experiences for all of our delegates. We will be pretty active on social media. We're getting our monthly marketing together in the next week or two to get to communications. And we'll be sending information out just as soon as we can, with the assistance of Ricky and website and registration and all the things. So we're really excited. If ever you want the opportunity to chat with us, our host meetings are scheduled on the second Friday of the month to also coincide with exec. So should you need us exec board, we will be available for you. So that's what I have, Margaret. I don't know if you have anything.
No, Beth, I saw your post. There is an opportunity to hang banners. I don't know specifically from the railing or not, but we can pay them a small fee to hang a banner. So we could really certainly do that. It's really not expensive. I think it was like $30. So we are also really, Matt is handling our budget, and so we're waiting to see the final numbers from this year, this most recent conference, before we establish our registration fee and all that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. I will say one of the things we're really, really excited about is that all of the conference space is literally in the hotel lobby. So that hopefully will make it easier for folks who have some mobility issues. There is also a lot of space. So like Katie said, we're looking at really figuring out some creative ways to use that space, maybe to have an area to do things that we haven't had space to do before. So anyway, and yes, we will be looking, thank you, Beth. I was going to ask about the conference assessment. So we're looking at, looking forward to seeing that data as well. But yeah, we're really just excited to welcome everybody. We're really also Brandy Bowen. If you know Brandy, she is like the consummate event planner, and has been for the 25 years that she and I have been friends. So she is really excited to get the menus from the hotel and the convention center. And we are kind of exploring potentially really stretching our food dollars and maybe providing hopefully a little more food just to make sure we're taking advantage of that. So we may see that in the form of more snack breaks or maybe even an additional meal. I don't know. We got to get the menus and look through it. So anyway, really just trying to maximize what everybody's getting for the dollars they're paying to come to the conference. So it's going to be awesome. Denton 24. That's the only theme. Sorry, Gabby. People are going to have to get creative in other ways with their program titles.
That is awesome. We are certainly looking forward to Denton and all the great work and amazing work that you guys are putting in. We really appreciate it. Okay, so I'll be honest and transparent. This is you all's time. So it is not entirely structured, but I will rip off Maggie's question to everyone to get us kind of started. And, I've had some time to think about committees that you could partner with. Who wants to start the dialogue and go? Crickets.
Can I answer the question that was given in the chat during my presentation? Okay. One, I apologize for spending all the time talking and running over. So yes to potential takeovers. So the question was, would we be open to having like committees do takeovers of the social media? Like when mid-level hosts drive in, could they post directly? Yes. The one thing that I'm like hesitantly saying yes to is that we use a third-party software to do our posting. And so when we do that, as long as somebody knows how to use that software, I wouldn't have an issue with it. So like, I think it's more of like a training piece on that and wouldn't have a problem doing that. I also plan to go to some of the conferences, so like RA conference, and then potentially, as if it's possible, being at like mid-level from a committee point of view. And so like if there are things, and like if I can go make SWACUHO U happen again, I would be there from a committee point of view as well. So if there are things that you all are wanting posted and I'm at that conference, like just let me know and I can also help from that aspect as well.
Perfect. Okay. Other thoughts, announcements, any ideas that folks have? Again, this is your time. I want to respect that.
This is Victoria. I do have a couple ideas, but I feel like it's kind of awkward to discuss here in front and with everyone that it may not apply to. So I will be contacting some of those folks in the next couple weeks.
Perfect.
Drew, I have a question because this applies to everyone.
Sure.
So one of the things that I had asked Drew specifically about was creating some sort of leadership team communication channel, be it GroupMe, Discord, Slack, some type of communication channel for us so we can communicate outside of meetings like this with one another that's not just email. I know like my committee has a GroupMe and it's helpful like for one-off things where like I forgot to add them to the Canva. And so they were like, hey, can you send this? And they didn't need to send me an email for that, right? Because I think sometimes we don't always all check our email right away. I know I fall victim to that sometimes. And so I wanted to see what people's thoughts were on that. I know GroupMe can be a love-hate relationship for some people. And so like open to whatever communication channel it may be. But I think having that like fast chain of communication could be helpful, especially when we get into conference season. And if we don't have somebody's phone number and we need to get in contact with them, we're not like frantically running around the conference center looking for them. Thoughts?
Jen, I don't mind that idea, but I'm just gonna be real honest. GroupMe is the only one of those I know that you just talked about in terms of a communication method. So we'd have to make sure it's something that people, I don't want to have to learn something, to be able to communicate with people other than what I'm already using. So which is GroupMe. So that's just me talking. So.
Jen, I also like that idea. Sorry, Katie and I were texting about another announcement, but just because I am not someone at the conference who checks my email. So if someone's going to send me an email about something while I'm at the conference, I'm 100% not going to see it there. So I agree that having some other method of communication for quick, like on the go announcement type things is helpful. I also agree with Felicia. I am old. I don't want to learn anything new. So if it's something I already use, i.e. text or GroupMe, that is better. Obviously, if there's something else that works for the whole group, then I will suck it up and figure that out, or I will have someone younger than me forward it to me in some way. But I don't think that it's a terrible idea.
Just to give a shout out for, I guess, young people is super relative, but as someone who's older and not techno savvy, Discord isn't that difficult to use. And just from a functionality standpoint, I like it more than GroupMe. It's just easier to organize. Like if you need to like drop docs or things like that, it just has a lot more tabs.
From what I
Do
heard,
not let Patrick fool you. He's like 18. He's like such a baby. He is not even an old man. Do not let that man fool you.
from what I've heard, Discord is similar to Teams, right, Patrick?
So I work at a poor school. So this whole like Teams and like this is the first time I've ever used Microsoft Teams because we just still use Zoom because we don't have no money. But I use Discord for my Pokemon group because I'm a young person. But from this interface, I'd say, yeah, it is fairly similar that you can do like sub channels. So we could either have like a SWACUHO Discord or like SWACUHO exec. So then you could even make individual channels. So if it was like, oh, something we all need to know versus just the executive body, like they could have their own channel that they could post in.
Okay.
Patrick, is there a calendar feature with that?
Maybe. Again, full disclosure, I just used the Discord for Pokemon. So, you know, I just like I said, I think there's a way that you can put like events and stuff on it, but hasn't come up yet in my interactions.
Okay. Something Katie Campbell and I are working on, it may not come to fruition, people, but it's an idea. We are looking into creating a internal leadership calendar. So basically taking all the important things that all of us have to do each month from the organizational handbook and putting that into a visual calendar idea. So we're exploring a leadership calendar to perhaps help with accountability. And then you can also see like, there's my color, but there's what other committees are doing. So we have that as well, instead of having to read other people's sections of the handbook. So.
Nice.
And even if there's not like a way to link a calendar or there's not a calendar feature in there, you could always have like drop the Google Calendar or whatever it may be in the chat and have it and like live in there somewhere.
This is great, great conversation. Jen, I would go ahead and sum all this up, send out the instructions on whatever platform to that email address that goes to everybody. And if people want to play, they sign up, and those that don't, don't. And those that need assistance can ask for assistance because we're all friends and we all support one another. Does that work?
Yes. And it looks like, so both Discord and GroupMe can be used on like your handheld device as well as there's a internet browser version. So I'm gonna do some digging before I make a decision, but I've heard good things about Discord being like a good platform for group work like this. But I also hear you, Felicia and Maggie, and learning new technology.
And I'm willing to learn. I just want to, is it the best? Is it going to be the best? Right. So, I mean, if we know we've got GroupMe or whatnot, and part of it is the mobile functionality for me too. Like, am I going to be able to use it easily on my phone as well as online? So I guess is it going to be the best for us is, I guess, the thing. Or do the pros outweigh the cons or vice versa? So,
yeah.
Unrelated to this, just a couple more notes from hosts. Catherine has already put together a very comprehensive timeline that we will be following as a host committee. And that is going to include pushing information out to chairs that we think you may find helpful as you make your preparations for annual conference as soon as we get it. If you don't know Katie, she is a very proactive, let's do all of the things as early as we can kind of girl. I am a last minute is still within the minute and we're going to make it work person. So please know that you may be getting information from us literal months before you actually need to do anything with it. I suggest that you put a little from host folder in your Gmail and just shuffle those emails over there so you know where to find them whenever you need to refer to those. We will also be, as a committee, firming up kind of who your points of contact will be if you have questions related to the conference, or you have needs for your committee for the conference. We're probably going to do that in our next meeting in April. So we'll be sending that out not long after that, just so you kind of have a primary point of contact across the 4 of us who are kind of the host chairs. I'll be honest, at this point, we're not planning on putting together a large committee. We'll probably each just be shoulder tapping a person or 2 from our own institutions to help us with some very specific things that we need help with, either leading up to or at the conference. So you will probably be interfacing with one of the 4 of us. So just kind of be aware of that. But you will get communication from us early and probably often. So yeah, if there's ever something that you think that you need and don't have, check what we've sent you, and then let us know and we will get it to you. Thanks.
I do have a question. So I know that the region's been very generous the last few years in being able to help offset cost of hotel rooms for mid-year meeting and that. And I'm just wondering when we might know that. So that way, particularly since our committee is one that will be at mid-year, so we maybe can share that out sooner with our committee members to help with their planning as well. And that would be helpful to know. So I don't know what timeline you're looking at with that, but.
So that's really an exec thing, not to pass that buck.
No, that's exactly who I'm asking, Maggie.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So
No,
yeah.
no, you're fine.
So that's a
So
wonderful-
sorry, Drew, I'm putting you on the spot. So
Yeah, I'm used to it. It's okay. As far as to truthfully answer that transparently, it's too early to be able to answer that. It's going to depend on the budget, and once we receive budget numbers, but more than likely, there will be some assistance. I just do not know what that will look like today.
I will say though, Felicia, the hotel has kind of given us 2 options for mid-year. We can either pay for rooms or we can pay for food. So we are looking at putting our dollars toward food. So we will likely be providing, well, we know for sure we'll be providing the lunch that we always provide, but we will likely be providing at least 1 other meal during mid-year, if not 2 other meals. So even if the hotel thing isn't covered completely, I think we should be able to provide enough meals to maybe help offset the cost of that just a smidge. So more to come on that as we get the menus and really get into the meat of planning. But, you know, we all kind of decided if we're going to pay for space or we're going to pay for food, we'd rather feed everyone than pay for empty space. So that's what our intention is at this point. And of course, you know, the manager special and the breakfast is going to be included in that as well.
well, thanks for that, Maggie. That's really great information and really helpful. So thank you.
We're hoping we are literally just waiting on them to send us the menus. So I would think we would have all of that finalized sometime midsummer if we can get the menus from them in the next month or so. I know Brandy's kind of chomping at the bit to sort of make some of those decisions. And also to communicate pretty early with those of you who will be hosting receptions at the conference. So you have ample time to make those selections as well.
This is a random, well, I guess it's not super random, but for host committee, for those of us, like for instance, with like headshots, if we are wanting a space from you all as a committee, how should we communicate that to you? Like needing to work that into the schedule and or making sure you know that.
So hotel space use, I think, is one of my responsibilities. Is that right, KP? Yeah, okay. I'll probably put together a little Google form, Jen, and send it out in the next, I don't know, sometime probably early summer, just to give all of you time to sort of think through what you think you may need. I will tell you, I mean, obviously, we're not looking to recreate the wheel with the schedules. So the things that are pretty standard or that have become standard, like space for headshots, we will probably already have sort of on our radar. But for those of you who maybe have new ideas, just look for something and I'll collect that in some kind of uniform way.
Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Okay. Well, I certainly want to respect everybody's time. I value these opportunities. I hope each of us values them as well. Know that we are all here to support one another, and if you need assistance in any way, shape, or form, you know how to reach all of us. And it sounds like we're going to even make that easier. So, in creating this network thing that Jen is working on, technology is not my friend. So, but anyway, I do want to appreciate everybody. Thank you for your time. I know giving 3 hours on a Friday is not everyone's ideal thing that they want to do. But I definitely enjoy seeing everybody's faces. It's very refreshing and rewarding. And all of the work that you will be doing in the upcoming year is valued. Do not ever second guess that. I know it is hard work. It's loyalty, it's commitment, it's dedication, it's time consuming, but it is all rewarding in the end. And you are all making a wonderful difference. You make a difference in my life, and I hope that I make a difference in each of yours. And with that, I'm going to wrap up Committee Camp Season 2. So congratulations, everyone. And I wish everyone a wonderful weekend.